Hey everyone, and welcome back. Today we're comparing 3 stories about people who refused to listen to clear warnings and paid the price for it. One's about a woman who wanted sauce she was told wasn't vegan, another a manager who demanded rigid clocking, and the last a stranger who tried to snatch a child. We're going to break down what actually worked in each case, and you can vote in the comments on which story handled it best. How ignoring a polite warning turned a vegan burrito into a spicy regret. This happened earlier today, and while it didn't happen to me directly, I had a front row seat, and it was too good not to mentally bookmark for later. I was grabbing lunch at one of those fast, casual Tex-Mex places that everyone knows, the kind where you shuffle down an assembly line pointing at ingredients while employees build your burrito in real time. There are giant menu boards overhead with preset options, plus the build-your-own route for people who like to customize every detail. Everything's spelled out clearly in big letters with pictures, prices, and descriptions that even a distracted person could follow if they tried. I placed my order without any drama and moved down the line to the final station where another employee was about to add sauces and wrap things up. While I was waiting, the customer behind me stepped up. She was an older woman, probably late 50s or early 60s, dressed in expensive but aggressively neutral clothing. You know the look, the kind that says she doesn't usually eat at places like this and wants everyone to know it. She carried herself with that stiff, dismissive posture of someone who thinks customer service workers exist purely to test her patience. She ordered one of the preset vegan burritos, not build your own, not can I customize, just straight off the menu vegan option. The employee did what they always do and asked the standard clarifying questions: white or whole grain tortilla, white or black rice. The woman barely looked up from her phone while answering, dragging out each response like it was a personal inconvenience to speak out loud. The first employee assembled the base of the burrito exactly as described on the menu and slid it down the line to the next station, the same employee who was about to finish mine. That's when the woman finally looked up and asked, "Can I get sauce on that?" The employee paused and politely explained that the vegan burrito doesn't come with sauce because none of their sauces are vegan. She clarified that the burrito already includes salsa verde, which they classify as a topping rather than a sauce. She said it in that careful customer service tone that's equal parts helpful and cautious, like she's already bracing for pushback. The woman barely acknowledged her. She glanced up at the menu board and said, "I want the red chipotle." Now, here's where context matters. The place has 2 chipotle sauces with nearly identical names. One is a creamy chipotle sauce that's orange and milder, and the other is an explosive chipotle sauce that's bright red and notoriously spicy. Neither one is vegan. Both of them clearly show up on the menu board with descriptions and color-coded photos. Anyone even paying a little attention would understand that. The employee tried again, "Ma'am, that sauce isn't vegan and it's very spicy." She didn't get to finish the sentence. "Can I please just get the sauce?" the woman snapped, her tone sharp and impatient. She wasn't yelling, but she was absolutely talking down. The implication was clear: stop explaining, stop correcting me, and do what I asked. From where I was standing, it was obvious the woman thought the employee was refusing her request because the burrito was a preset option and couldn't be modified. She clearly wasn't absorbing the part about the sauce not being vegan or the warning about the heat level. She just wanted what she wanted, and she wanted it now. The employee hesitated for a moment. I saw it on her face, the internal debate. You could practically hear the mental coin flip between keep trying to explain and fine, you asked for it. She took a breath and asked one last time, very clearly, "Are you sure?" The woman didn't miss a beat. "Yes, I'm sure," she said in that clipped, irritated tone people use when they think someone beneath them is being deliberately slow. That was it. The employee nodded, picked up the burrito, and proceeded to add the salsa verde first, the standard topping that already goes into the vegan option. Then she reached for the bottle of explosive chipotle sauce. Not the creamy one, the red one. The one with the warning sign on the dispenser. She applied it generously, zigzagging from one end of the burrito to the other, making sure every bite would be evenly coated. This wasn't a dab, this was a commitment. When she finished, she wrapped the burrito neatly, slid it into foil, and looked up with the brightest, most polite smile I'd seen all day. "Is that going to be warm or cold?" she asked, like nothing unusual had happened. I had to bite my cheek to keep from laughing. She rang us both up without incident. The woman paid, grabbed her bag, and walked out without another word, still looking at her phone like she'd just won a small imaginary victory. I watched her go, knowing full well that whatever happened next would not be the employee's problem anymore. I wish I could say I saw her take the first bite. I wish I could report on the exact moment realization hit, whether it was instant regret or a delayed creeping horror as the heat built up. Maybe she loved it. Maybe she took one bite and immediately questioned every life choice that led her to that moment. I'll never know. What I do know is that the employee warned her twice. She explained the sauce wasn't vegan. She explained it was very spicy. She gave her an out. The customer chose not to listen, not to engage, and not to respect the person trying to help her. And in the end, she got exactly what she demanded, in precisely the way she demanded it. There's something oddly satisfying about watching someone talk themselves into consequences, especially when those consequences are wrapped in foil and served with a receipt. The employee's malicious compliance was a flawless performance. By giving the customer exactly what she asked for, with a smile, she transformed the transaction from a service into a lesson. The woman wasn't wronged. She was granted her exact wish. The consequences are now part of the meal she ordered. And our second story. Clock in and out according to your contract. Sure thing, boss. I used to work in an office in a training department. My manager was super chill, and she didn't care much about my schedule and hours I was doing as long as I did the hours my contract said and didn't take a mick. I used to come in at around 7:30 a.m. every day. I didn't start until 8 a.m., but I would come in, say hello to a few people, make myself a cup of tea, maybe have a quick chat with someone. I'd then start working at around 7:50 a.m., still 10 minutes before my start time. I should finish work at 4:30 p.m., but quite often I would stay until 4:45 or sometimes go home at 4 p.m., but the following day I would stay longer so my hours in a working week would still add up to what they were supposed to. My awesome manager went on maternity leave, and they gave us some a-hole wannabe manager who hasn't had a clue about us or our job. Since my manager was away, we all had to report to the AH. She hated us. For some weird reason, she hated our department and everyone in it. Never said why, though. Very quickly, she realized I was doing weird hours and pulled me into the office. She started saying all this crap about how I'm stealing company's time and money, how I'm unprofessional, and how she's going to put her foot down and make me work properly, whatever that means. I tried to listen to her and asked her questions, but she started to say that one more word and you're out. Okay, cool. You are a jerk. Great. So I ask, what is it that you want me to do? And she says, do the hours that are stated in your contract. Okay, cool. So to clarify, does that mean I have to start at 8 a.m. and finish at 4:30 p.m. every day? She rolled her eyes, looks at me like I'm stupid, and says, it's not that hard. Your contracted hours is what I want to see on your timesheet. Not this nonsense you've been doing. Okay, fine. See, I'm petty, very petty, and I don't like AHs. So I go home and sleep like a baby, knowing I will mess her up so much she'll start losing her mind. Next day, I come to work and wait by the clock-in machine to clock in bang on 8 a.m. Then I work my normal day, and then I go back to the clock-in machine and wait to clock out exactly at 4:30 p.m. I'm sure you already know where this is going. But wait, there's more. My super friendly fellow coworkers realized very quickly what I was doing and decided to do the same. There was 10 of us in a team, and we all gathered at the clock machine before and after the shift to clock in and out at exactly 8 a.m. and 4:30 p.m. This right here is the part that makes it beautiful. This stopped being one employee being difficult and instantly became a systems failure she created herself. When an entire team weaponizes the rulebook politely, management panic usually isn't far behind. The AH manager didn't realize for a while what was going on until she put a meeting in place at 4 p.m. Well, 4 of us were in that meeting. Comes 4:25, and all 4 of us get up while she's talking and run out to our desks. We quickly gather our stuff and run to the clock-in machine. Then 1 to 2 minutes later, we all clock out and go home. She didn't even have the time to ask what we were doing. Next day, she sends us an invite for 4:30 p.m., and it gets rejected by everyone on my team. She sends nasty email to all of us who rejected that we will be written up for insubordination. We forward the email to HR and ask for a meeting. Meeting happens. The HR lady listens to us, eyes wide open, then laughs, shakes her head, and says, "Leave it with me." We go about our day, then all clock out at exactly 4:30 p.m. Next day, managers nowhere to be seen. HR lady sends email to us to come see her at 2 p.m. There we're informed that manager will no longer oversee our department. Actually, she'll no longer work for the company due to objectives not aligning anymore with the business, whatever that means. Gossip has it that manager was always biting more than she could chew and caused issues across few departments. She was moved around because second chances. Well, we went back to our own schedules. When our manager came back from maternity leave and was told what happened, she laughed and said she raised us well. This one is where entitlement meets systems. The new manager thought she was asserting authority. She saw flexibility as disrespect and kindness as inefficiency, so she demanded obedience to the letter of the contract. What she didn't understand was that rules are weapons too. The moment the entire team followed her instructions perfectly, her power collapsed. Meetings failed, productivity dropped, HR stepped in. She lost because people complied. And that's always the most dangerous kind of revenge. And our last story. A stranger tried to rescue my son from me in a grocery store. I should probably start by explaining what I look like, because apparently that mattered a whole lot more than reality did on this particular day. I'm mixed race. My dad is white, my mom is black, and genetically I landed in that weird middle ground where people are constantly guessing. I grew up in Texas, so most strangers assumed I was Mexican. I've been asked if I speak Spanish more times than I can count. Since moving to Massachusetts, though, I hadn't had any real issues. People here mostly mind their business, and I've gone years without anyone saying something outright stupid to my face. I'm also married to a white woman. When we got together, she already had a little boy from a previous relationship. His biological father isn't really involved, and I stepped into that role early on because I love my wife and I love that kid. He's 4 now, and I've been dad since he was barely 1. Diapers, midnight feedings, scraped knees, bedtime stories, all of it. Biology doesn't mean much once you've held a screaming toddler at 3 in the morning and promised them everything's going to be okay. On the day this happened, my wife had a long list of errands to run. Normally, she just does it herself because I work nights and I'm usually asleep during the day, but I happened to be awake and figured I'd give her a break. I offered to take care of everything, including the grocery run, and told her to stay home and relax. I also took our son with me so she could actually get some peace and I could get some one-on-one time with him. Honestly, it was shaping up to be a good day. We knocked out most of the errands without any issues. My son was in one of his extra chatty moods, the kind where he waves at strangers and says hi to everyone like they're old friends. I keep a close eye on him, but I don't shut that down. As long as he's not bothering anyone or wandering too far, I let him be himself. By the time we got to the grocery store, he had energy to burn and was happily jogging a few steps ahead of me down the aisles, laughing and narrating his own little world. I was in the canned goods aisle scanning shelves for corn when my son reached the far end of the aisle just as an older woman was turning in from the other side. He stopped, smiled, and in his best enthusiastic 4-year-old voice announced, "Hi, me 4, me Ryan." I smiled to myself, expecting the usual polite chuckle adults give kids. The woman smiled down at him and said, "Well, hello there. You shouldn't be running around unattended. Let's go find your parents." I didn't think much of it. She probably hadn't seen me yet. Without even looking up from the shelves, I called out, "Ryan, come back here, bud." He immediately turned and ran back toward me, doing that little spinning dance kids do when they're excited, nearly knocking over a display. I grabbed the cans I needed and turned my cart around, ready to head toward the front of the store. That's when the woman walked past me and stopped directly in my path. At first, I thought it was just bad aisle etiquette. I said, "Excuse me," and tried to step around her. She moved her cart to block me. I tried again, thinking maybe she was confused or distracted. She blocked me again, this time very deliberately. I looked at her and said, "Sorry about that. We'll get out of your way." She stared at me like I just admitted to something horrible and snapped, "Oh, I don't think so. You're not going anywhere with that child." I blinked. "You mean my son?" She scoffed, "That's not your child. He's white and you're Mexican. You probably didn't even know his name until he said it to me." I felt my jaw tighten. First of all, I'm not Mexican. Second, that is my son. Now, please move. She raised her voice, "Stop lying. You're not taking him anywhere, you pervert." At this point, my son had pressed himself against my leg, gripping my jeans. He was scared, and that flipped a switch in me. I was tired, running on little sleep, and now some stranger was terrifying my kid. He's standing next to me because he trusts me, I said sharply. You're the one scaring him. Back off. She leaned down toward my son and said in a sickly sweet voice, You're scared because of him, honey. You just don't know how to say it yet. Come with me. I'm here to rescue you. Before I could react, she grabbed my son's arm and took off running. For a split second, my brain just stalled. It didn't register. Then my son started screaming, full-on terrified sobs, and she was yelling, Don't worry, sweetie, he won't hurt you, like she was the hero in her own twisted movie. Reality snapped back into place, and I bolted after her, shouting for help as we tore through the store. Stop her! She's kidnapping my son! A store employee heard the commotion and stepped into her path near the front, grabbing the cart and blocking her exit. My son was reaching for me, screaming my name, while this woman clutched him and yelled, Why are you stopping me? This Mexican is trying to kidnap my grandson. My son slapped her in the face in his panic, which I'll admit in the middle of everything gave me a dark flicker of satisfaction. A manager rushed over, clearly overwhelmed, and demanded to know what was going on. The woman immediately pointed at me and screamed, That man tried to kidnap my grandson. I was saving him. That's my son, I shouted. Let him go right now. The manager hesitated, stuck between a screaming woman and a furious father. I pulled out my phone and showed him pictures of me with my son dating back over a year. Birthdays, holidays, everyday moments. The woman waved it off, yelling that the photos were fake. 2 other older women had gathered by then and chimed in, backing her up, insisting they'd seen me snatch the child. Someone called the police. I called my wife. She didn't just see a father and child. She saw a casting call in her own vigilante drama. In her mind, she was already the hero, the rescuer. The truth was irrelevant. She'd written the script before she even approached the aisle. Your existence was just an inconvenient plot twist. She arrived just as the officers walked in. The moment my son saw her, he screamed, Mama, and reached out. My wife didn't hesitate. She stormed forward and shouted, Let him go, now! The woman tried again. I was protecting him from that pervert. My wife turned, pointed at me, and said, That's my husband. The look on the woman's face was priceless. IDs were checked, photos compared. The officer's patience evaporated as the store manager confirmed they had cameras. When the footage showed everything from me entering the store with my son to the woman grabbing him and running, the officer turned to me and asked, Do you want to press charges? Yes, I said immediately. The woman was arrested on the spot. Attempted kidnapping, false police report, child endangerment. When they noticed the bruises forming on my son's arm, they added child abuse to the list. The 2 women who lied for her were charged for filing false reports as well. As she was let out in cuffs, she was still shouting about perverts and kidnappers. My son was in my arms, shaking but safe. My wife held both of us, and the store went quiet. All because a stranger decided she knew better than reality and thought skin color made her judge, jury, and hero. Each of these stories shows what happens when someone chooses not to listen. In one, warnings about content were ignored. In another, flexibility was mistaken for something to control. In the last, visual assumptions overrode observable truth. In each case, the person who stood their ground didn't have to shout or fight. They just let the other person's own choices bring the consequences. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel so you don't miss a new video every single day. Thank you all for watching the video. I'll see you in the next one.